What if I told you that some of the most powerful medicines in human history aren't locked away in laboratories or hidden behind prescription counters, but have been growing quietly beside roads, in ancient gardens, and along trade routes for thousands of years? Plants that healed empires, plants that crossed deserts on camel caravans, plants that were trusted long before modern hospitals ever existed. While most of us reach for synthetic solutions at the first sign of discomfort, there are medicinal plants that have stood the test of centuries. And today, modern research is confirming that many of them work exactly as our ancestors believed they did. In this video, I'm going to show you 20 ancient medicinal plants that heal you instantly, ranked from quietly powerful to truly remarkable. Stick around, because number 18 was once more valuable than gold in certain regions of the world. And number 20 may be sitting in your kitchen right now. Let's begin. Number 1. Yarrow, the soldier's wound, herb. For thousands of years, soldiers carried yarrow into battle. The ancient Greeks believed Achilles himself used it to treat wounded warriors, which is why its botanical name, Achillea millefolium, honors him. But this wasn't mythology alone. Yarrow contains compounds that help reduce bleeding and support tissue repair. Modern studies show it has measurable anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial effects, making it useful for minor cuts, scrapes, and skin irritation. Traditionally, fresh leaves were crushed and applied directly to wounds to slow bleeding. The dried flowers were brewed into tea to help reduce fevers and support digestion. Yarrow grows wild across North America and Europe. It thrives in fields, roadsides, and open meadows, overlooked by most, yet historically considered essential. Think of it as nature's first field medic, quiet, reliable, still growing where it always has. Number 2. Frankincense, the resin of renewal. Long before it was burned in temples or traded across continents, frankincense was valued for something far more practical: inflammation control. Harvested from boswellia trees in arid regions of the Middle East and Africa, this aromatic resin was once transported along ancient trade routes and prized like currency. Modern clinical research has identified boswellic acids within frankincense that help regulate inflammatory pathways in the body. Studies suggest benefits for joint discomfort, digestive inflammation, and even respiratory conditions. Traditionally, the resin was burned and inhaled for lung support or infused into oils for joint application. It was rare, it was expensive, and it was trusted. Frankincense reminds us that sometimes the most powerful medicine begins as a hardened drop of tree sap in the desert sun. Number 3. Plantain, the trailside healer, not the fruit, the weed. Broadleaf plantain grows in lawns, footpaths, and cracks in sidewalks. Most people walk past it without a second thought. Yet for centuries, it was known as a dependable first aid plant. Its leaves contain compounds shown to support wound healing, reduce inflammation, and inhibit certain microbes. Some clinical studies have even demonstrated improved healing of minor burns and skin irritation. Traditionally, fresh leaves were chewed or crushed and applied directly to insect bites, stings, or small cuts. Within minutes, swelling and discomfort often began to subside. It's not exotic. It doesn't travel across oceans. It simply grows at your feet, waiting to be noticed. Plantain is proof that ancient medicine didn't always come from far away. Sometimes it was already there. Number 4. Myrrh, the bitter protector. Like frankincense, myrrh was once transported along ancient caravan routes and valued across civilizations. This resin, harvested from commiphora trees, has been used for thousands of years as a cleansing and protective medicine. Modern analysis shows myrrh contains compounds with genuine antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. Research suggests it may help support oral health, wound care, and digestive balance. Traditionally, it was mixed into oils or tinctures and applied to wounds. It was also diluted into rinses for gum and throat infections. Its intensely bitter taste was considered part of its strength. Bitterness, in many ancient systems of medicine, signaled potency. Myrrh doesn't soothe with sweetness. It protects with strength. Number 5. Mullein, the lung cleanser. If you've ever seen a tall stalk with soft velvety leaves and yellow flowers rising above an empty field, you've seen mullein. For generations, it was the herb people reached for when the chest felt heavy and breathing felt strained. Mullein leaves contain compounds that act as gentle expectorants, helping the body clear mucus from the respiratory tract. Modern herbal research supports its traditional use for coughs, bronchial irritation, and mild respiratory discomfort. Historically, the dried leaves were brewed into tea and carefully strained to remove fine hairs before drinking. The flowers were infused into oil for ear support. It grows in disturbed soil, places others overlook. And yet, for centuries, it was considered a friend to the lungs. Mullein doesn't suppress symptoms. It helps the body clear what doesn't belong. Number 6. Comfrey, the bone knitter. Few plants have earned a nickname as literal as comfrey. For centuries, it was called knit bone because people believed it helped the body repair itself faster after injury. In medieval Europe, herbalists applied it to sprains, bruises, and even fractures, believing it encouraged tissue to reconnect more rapidly. Its botanical name, Symphytum officinale, comes from the Greek word meaning to grow together. Modern analysis shows comfrey root contains allantoin, a compound known to promote cell proliferation and tissue regeneration. Clinical studies on topical preparations suggest it may help reduce pain and swelling in ankle sprains, back strain, and muscle injuries. Historically, the root was grated and made into poultices or infused slowly into oils for salves. It was applied over the skin, never casually ingested, and valued as a recovery plant. There is an important boundary here. Comfrey contains certain alkaloids that can stress the liver if taken internally in significant amounts. That's why traditional external use remains the standard approach. Comfrey doesn't force healing. It encourages the body to rebuild what was damaged, and sometimes that encouragement makes all the difference. Number 7. Olive leaf, the quiet immune guardian. Olive trees can live for hundreds, sometimes thousands, of years. Their fruit became oil. Their oil became symbol, but their leaves became medicine. Across Mediterranean cultures, olive leaves were brewed into bitter teas during times of seasonal illness. Ancient healers observed that people who lived among olive groves often demonstrated unusual resilience. Modern research has identified oleuropein as one of the leaf's primary active compounds. Studies suggest olive leaf extract may support immune response, cardiovascular function, and oxidative balance. Its activity appears broad: antimicrobial, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory. Traditionally, it was not used as an emergency cure. It was used as reinforcement, a strengthening agent during recovery, a quiet guardian rather than a dramatic rescuer. Olive leaf reflects the nature of the tree itself: steady, resilient, enduring. Number 8. Elecampane, the root for deep lungs. Elecampane has been used in European herbal traditions for more than 1,000 years. Monastic records describe its use for deep coughs that cling to the chest. It was considered especially useful when congestion lingered long after an acute illness had passed. The thick root contains compounds studied for antimicrobial and expectorant activity. Some research suggests elecampane may help the body clear persistent respiratory irritation. Unlike mullein, which works gently and superficially, elecampane was considered a deeper lung tonic. Traditionally, the dried root was simmered slowly into decoctions, long, patient preparations that extracted its warming properties. It was taken in small amounts over time, not dramatic, not instant, but thorough. Elecampane represents persistence and healing. Number 9. Garlic, the ancient shield. Garlic was fed to Egyptian laborers building the pyramids, not for flavor, but for strength and protection. Roman soldiers carried it. Medieval households hung it in doorways during times of plague. Modern science has studied garlic extensively. When crushed, it releases allicin, a sulfur-containing compound associated with antimicrobial and cardiovascular benefits. Research suggests garlic may help support healthy blood pressure, cholesterol balance, and immune defense. Historically, it was eaten raw, crushed into honey, or infused into oils. It wasn't exotic, it wasn't rare, it was common. And yet civilizations across continents independently recognized its protective qualities. Garlic does not whisper, it announces itself. And historically, that boldness meant protection. Number 10. Calendula, the golden restorer. Bright orange calendula. Flowers once grew in monastery gardens across Europe. Monks cultivated them carefully, not for beauty alone, but for medicine. Calendula contains flavonoids and triterpenoids, compounds studied for anti-inflammatory and wound-supportive effects. Modern topical preparations are still used to support minor burns, cuts, and skin irritation. Historically, the petals were dried and infused into oil, then thickened into salves. It was considered gentle enough for daily skin support, yet strong enough for battlefield wounds. Calendula gained a reputation as a restorer. It didn't overwhelm tissue. It nourished it. It didn't numb pain. It supported recovery. In a world before antiseptic creams, a jar of calendula salve represented preparedness, not fear, preparedness. Before we continue, notice something important. These plants come from different continents, different climates, different civilizations, and yet they all share something in common. They were observed carefully, used repeatedly, refined through generations, long before controlled trials, long before lab synthesis. If you're starting to see the pattern, if you're realizing that ancient medicine wasn't superstition, but accumulated observation, make sure you're subscribed, because this channel isn't about trends. It's about patterns that have endured. Now let's continue. Number 11. Thyme, the breath strengthener. Thyme has been burned in sick rooms since ancient times. Greek soldiers bathed in thyme-infused water before battle, believing it gave them strength. During medieval outbreaks, thyme was placed in homes for protection. Modern research has identified thymol and carvacrol as key compounds in thyme, both studied for antimicrobial and respiratory supporting properties. These compounds appear to help reduce microbial load while also supporting the clearing of mucus. Traditionally, thyme tea was brewed for coughs, sore throats, and bronchial discomfort. The steam was inhaled. The infusion was sipped slowly. It wasn't treated as a spice alone. It was treated as a protector of breath. Thyme is small, low-growing, unassuming, but historically, it stood guard over the lungs. Number 12. Ginger, the root that moves energy. Ginger traveled ancient spice routes, not just because it tasted good, but because it preserved health on long journeys. Merchants carried dried ginger to prevent digestive distress at sea. Physicians in multiple cultures prescribed it for nausea, cold limbs, and sluggish circulation. Modern studies show gingerols and shogaols contribute to its anti-inflammatory and digestive supporting effects. Research suggests ginger may help reduce motion sickness, calm nausea, and support joint comfort. Traditionally, fresh ginger slices were simmered into warming teas. Powdered ginger was mixed with honey. It was used during cold seasons to maintain internal warmth. Ginger doesn't suppress, it stimulates. It improves flow of blood, of digestion, of warmth. And improved flow often means improved function. Number 13. Sage, the preserver of clarity. In ancient Europe, there was a saying, "Why should a man die while sage grows in his garden?" That's how highly it was regarded. The Latin name salvia derives from salvare, meaning to save or to heal. It was cultivated deliberately in monastery gardens and used as both medicine and preservation agent. Modern research has explored sage for cognitive support, antioxidant properties, and antimicrobial effects. Some studies suggest potential benefits for memory and mental clarity. Traditionally, sage tea was used for sore throats, digestive discomfort, and general vitality. It was also burned to purify air, a practice now being re-examined for its antimicrobial smoke properties. Sage was never just culinary. It was strategic. It supported clarity, mentally and physically, and clarity strengthens resilience. Number 14. Nettle, the builder of strength. At first contact, nettle stings. That sting alone kept many people away from it. But those who understood the plant knew what lay beneath. Nettle leaves are exceptionally rich in minerals: iron, magnesium, calcium, along with chlorophyll and flavonoids. Modern studies suggest nettle may help support joint comfort and seasonal immune balance. Historically, it was cooked like spinach to neutralize the sting. It was brewed into deep green, mineral-rich teas for strengthening during recovery or fatigue. It wasn't used for immediate relief. It was used for rebuilding. Nettle doesn't dazzle. It nourishes. Over time, nourishment compounds, and compounded nourishment becomes resilience. Number 15. Clove, the aromatic defender. Clove buds were once so valuable, they influenced global trade routes. Harvested primarily in Indonesia and transported across continents, cloves were prized for both preservation and pain relief. Their key compound, eugenol, has been studied for analgesic and antimicrobial effects. Even today, derivatives of clove are used in dental preparations for temporary numbing and antiseptic support. Traditionally, clove oil was applied carefully to aching teeth. Whole cloves were simmered into decoctions or infused into honey. Beyond oral care, cloves were used to preserve food, a sign that ancient cultures recognized their antimicrobial properties long before microscopes existed. Clove carries warmth, intensity, defense. It doesn't whisper its presence, it asserts it. And for centuries, that assertion meant protection. Number 16. Turmeric, the golden root of resilience. For more than 4,000 years, turmeric has been cultivated across India and traded through the Middle East as both spice and medicine. Ancient Ayurvedic practitioners described it as a purifier, not in a mystical sense, but as a regulator of internal balance. Its active compound, curcumin, has been widely studied in modern research for anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Clinical investigations suggest potential support for joint comfort, cardiovascular health, and inflammatory regulation throughout the body. But turmeric was never treated as a single-dose solution. Traditionally, it was incorporated into daily meals, mixed with black pepper to enhance absorption, stirred into warm milk before sleep, combined with honey as a restorative paste. It wasn't emergency medicine, it was preventive strategy. Turmeric stains the skin a deep gold. And perhaps that's fitting, because resilience isn't built overnight. It's built daily. Number 17. Pomegranate, the fruit of endurance. Across ancient Persia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean, pomegranate symbolized vitality and sustained life. But symbolism followed observation. Modern research has identified punicolagens and polyphenols within pomegranate, compounds studied for their antioxidant strength and cardiovascular supporting effects. Clinical trials suggest benefits for blood pressure balance, arterial function, and oxidative stress reduction. Historically, the fruit was eaten fresh. The juice was pressed by hand. Even the rind was dried and used medicinally for digestive disturbances. It wasn't consumed occasionally. It was integrated into diet as a sustaining force. In a world without synthetic antioxidants, pomegranate was protection in edible form. It represents abundance, but also durability. Number 18. Boswellia, the resin of the dry lands. In harsh desert climates, where few plants survive, Boswellia trees produce a hardened resin that has been valued for centuries. Harvesters would carefully score the bark, allowing the sap to form droplets that hardened under intense heat. Those droplets traveled along trade routes into temples, markets, and medicine chests. Boswellic acids, now studied extensively, appear to influence inflammatory pathways in joint and digestive tissues. Modern investigations continue exploring their role in long-term inflammatory balance. Traditionally, Boswellia resin was powdered and taken in small doses over weeks. It was not a quick fix, it was long-term reinforcement. In dry, unforgiving terrain, this tree learned to survive, and its medicine reflects that survival. Strength forged under pressure. Number 19. Black seed. The small but potent tonic, black seed, or Nigella sativa, has been cultivated across North Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia for thousands of years. It was pressed into oil, sprinkled over bread, consumed in small amounts daily. Its primary studied compound, thymoquinone, has attracted attention for antioxidant and immune-supportive properties. Ongoing research continues investigating its potential role in metabolic, respiratory, and inflammatory health. Traditionally, black seed oil was used as a general tonic, not for one isolated symptom, but for broad strengthening. It was considered versatile, reliable, sustainable. Its power doesn't come from size, it comes from concentration. Number 20. Honey, the medicine before medicine, before laboratories, before pharmaceutical patents, before clinical trials. There was honey. Ancient Egyptians applied honey to wounds and recorded its effectiveness. Greek physicians described its cleansing ability. Roman soldiers carried it as part of battlefield care. Modern research confirms raw honey contains enzymes that produce hydrogen peroxide, along with antimicrobial compounds that inhibit bacterial growth. Medical-grade honey is still used in wound management today for precisely that reason. Applied topically, it supports tissue healing and moisture balance. Taken internally, it soothes irritated throats and persistent coughs. But honey represents something deeper. It begins as nectar. It transforms through time, effort, and cooperation, and it becomes preservation. Honey reminds us that some of the most powerful medicine comes not from complexity, but from refinement. Closing. When you look across these 20 plants, something becomes undeniable. Different climates, different cultures, different languages, yet the same conclusions. People observed what worked. They passed it down. They refined it over generations. And now, in many cases, modern science is catching up to confirm those observations. These plants are not replacements for modern medical care, but they are reminders. Reminders that healing did not begin in a laboratory. It began in fields, in forests, in deserts, in gardens, and much of it is still growing there, waiting.